I think that's where
Mm-hmm.
some anxiety comes in life, where it's a healthy anxiety, where you are concerned about learning and growing and developing, and so you do pay attention to the moments that come your way. And sometimes they're tough. Sometimes there's waves, and sometimes there's storms, and there's wind blowing your direction. I honestly feel like a lot of times those aren't negative. They're the winds are blowing you in the direction you need to go.
Welcome to the Mountain Tough Podcast, brought to you by Sig Sauer. Welcome back to another episode of the Mountain Tough Podcast. I am Dustin Diefenderfer, founder and CEO of Mountain Tough, and we are so glad that you are here. We love seeing you come back week after week, diving into these episodes. Each and every week, it is our goal to bring you an inspiring guest that helps you level up, transform your life, add some mindset tools to your mental toughness toolbox so that we can live that virtuous, abundant life and overcome adversity. If you are a new or a loyal listener, and if you haven't done so already, and if you have a second to leave us a ranking or review on the podcast store of your choice, those do mean the world to us and the Mountain Tough team. And the rankings and the reviews through the algorithm do allow these episodes to get out to more people to transform more lives. Shifting over to Mountain Tough has had a phenomenal last couple months. We got through Tough Fest 2024. Tough Fest was a magical, life-changing day. And now we're working on some new programs for the Mountain Tough community live in the Mountain Tough app. A huge project that has been going on in the Research and Development Center here in Bozeman is the creation of Postseason Strength 2.0. So Mountain Tough backcountry hunters for years have done preseason prep, and now there's preseason prep 2.0. And then when hunters are done with hunting season, they want to pack on some strength because we do lose some muscle in the mountains all fall. Postseason has always been one of our most popular programs. We have been spending a tremendous amount of time revamping that to bring you all Postseason 2.0. We're cranking on the lab on that project. We have test athletes in every day so that we can get a product live to you this fall. That should go live in September or October. So keep an eye out for that. It is a phenomenal option to pack on some strength, but stay functional as a hybrid athlete. Shifting over to today's guest. Today's guest is a good friend of mine, a good friend of Mountain Tough's. Today on the show, I have the CEO of MTN OPS, Trevor Farnes. Trevor is a returning guest. We've had him on the show before. He is an inspiring individual. The way that he leads through some positive energy, the way that he builds his team is incredible. The thing I love about Trevor the most is his gold heart. He has a heart of gold, and he gives back an incredible amount. And so last year at Tough Fest, we helped MTN OPS through Trevor's initiative, Conquer Hunger, donate their 5 millionth meal. You'll hear in today's show, he's already up to 6 million, and they're teeing up an event this July where they will give out 1 million other meals in one day in Salt Lake at the Salt Palace. So 7 million meals given away in the Project Conquer Hunger to kids who are looking for food. It's an incredible work that he does. He's an incredible human being, but he just launched a brand new book. It's a book he's been working on for 7 years. The book is called The Conquer Code. It is live now on Amazon. You're definitely going to want to grab a copy for yourself. And in today's conversation, we dive down what led him to this project and really what the book is all about. So stand by for my conversation with Trevor Farnes.
That was an incredible event last year, hitting the 5 million meal mark with you guys and celebrating together. And
Man.
just being a part of your family and community you've created up there. Um, Despite the sickness, I didn't know what was going on with me when we were up there last year. And that night after the workout, I just thought I was a wuss, and I was doubled over in pain, searching throughout the Airbnb like for any Advil or Tylenol I could find in their house. Couldn't find anything. The next day, I flew home and went straight to the emergency room with
Oh
some
my
issues that I
gosh.
deal with. Yeah, but got my intestines taken care of, and I was back at it within a
Oh,
few days. But during that workout, I was like, man, I'm really letting my team down. And because, these were strangers I'd never met before, but they ended up being amazing guys. And John Helton, he's become an incredible friend of mine now that we
he's
stay in
awesome.
contact
Yeah.
on a regular basis. Him and his wife have been to our office here, and we've sat down and discussed things. So it's cool what you've created and the connections that transpire from the event and the community you've got. So
Man, it is so cool. I think there is something magical about working out with someone that you've never met, and we do that strategically. And we've done that for years with Mountain Tough class, and so we knew the magic that it creates, and we wanted to do that at Tough Fest. But just getting put on a 3-person team, there's 2 people you don't know, you've never met before. It creates a lot of really special things because no one wants to let
yeah.
their team down, and you have to communicate, you have to lead, and it's really, really cool. It always creates like lifelong bonds and friendships. Just going through adversity together does something pretty
Yeah.
magical.
That's true. I think it was the thing I think I was most nervous about being at your event for was the workout, but then knowing I might get paired with people that I don't know, and the Mountain Tough community is tough, and
Yeah.
so we stay pretty physically active and everything for what we do and how we want to do it, and so I wasn't too nervous, but at the same time, I've been through some of your workouts before with you in your gym, and it's left me a bit nauseous a few times. So yeah, you don't want to let your team down, but it was amazing that I was falling behind and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel right. But they just kept coming back for me and pulling me along and lifting as they went. And I was the one being lifted that day. And when I was falling short on reps, they jumped in and helped me out. And I went and puked about 4 or 5 times and while they got some of my reps in. And then I was like, I can't just be feeling this way because I'm out of shape, because I know I'm not like out of shape. Um, so while it sucked to be sick, I was glad that there was a reason for feeling that way. And when I went to the hospital the next day, they did a CT scan and they're like, yeah, what I have is called diverticulitis, and it's hereditary. My father and my brothers have all had it, and
Okay.
one brother's had some surgery for it. But every once in a while, out of nowhere just flares up, and
Man.
it doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up and knocks on my door, and yeah, it just kind of gets you sometimes. But unfortunately, it got me at that event where I really wanted to give it my all and participate with the team, and I did my best. We made it through. So
Yeah. Yeah, you guys did great. And that's a hereditary thing. It's genetic. It's not like a stress caused
well,
like
stress can
IBS.
flare it up.
Okay. Stress
Stress
could
can
make it
definitely
worse.
flare it up. Yeah, because it's diverticulosis when it's not flaring up. And so it's always there. It's kind of pockets that can get infected in your intestines. And so, and then every once in a while, depending on certain foods, and I've done the elimination stuff where I've eliminated things to see what's affecting me. I haven't really found the diagnosis, but a lot of it can happen due to stress,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a CEO, a business founder, it's like there's a lot going on. I've got a family that keeps me busy that I love spending time with. We're, church stuff that I'm very active in. So there's just a lot going on. And sometimes all these things kind of converge together where there's,
Yeah.
your event was in June. That's probably my busiest month of the year with family, church, and work. Just kind of all coming together with things. And we had that big event we were excited for. We were going to hit 5 million meals.
Yeah. There's a
I wasn't
lot.
necessarily stressful about the event, but I think I get kind of
Anxious.
and anxious excitement, and it's kind of almost like this is it, this is awesome, but I've I'm feeling it, and I've just got all these things going at once. I don't know if that's what caused it, but it seems to be that, around big event times and things in life that there's a flare up. So
Well, all those emotions are so close. Like anxiety, fear, stress produce almost the similar response. So I
yeah,
could definitely see how
yeah,
that could kick that into your body.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Man.
same thing happened at the Hunt Expo this year. And I think I told you I wasn't feeling 100% then too, but
Yeah.
I honestly just feel like, okay, there's so much going on. This is awesome. I've got friends coming in from all around the world. Some of them are staying at our house. Some of, we're entertaining, we're having fun. We're doing, we're getting to see our community and the partners, and then just the timing sometimes just is off. But I
Uh-huh.
do get like this anxious excitement in my life for a lot of different things, and those are moments where it's not negative, it's just a lot going on. And so
Yeah.
wanting to make sure that all the puzzle pieces are in place so that people have an experience they deserve to have with our brand and with me personally and that type of thing. So
Yeah, I could see you definitely getting to know you over the last few years. I could definitely see you being anxious and excited, but I couldn't see you being like really like overwhelmed with stress and going like down a negative cycle. And I'm sure that has happened in your life, and I'm sure that that has caught you a few times. But think that even you talk about that a lot in your book, that because of your principles and beliefs, stress is always going to knock us all down, and adversity is going to knock all of us down, and life's going to throw some big punches at us. But the way that we frame those up and the perspective we put those in can really change how we react and the actions we take when that adversity does strike.
yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I think that there's moments in life where we're afforded perspective. And I feel like those are moments you've got to pay attention. I think God does it for a wise purpose. And I feel like that's what life's all about, through failure, through faith, through family, connections, all these things. We have opportunities where our eyes are open to different things in life that I feel are for our benefit. And it comes down to a choice that we've got to make in those moments where, we can choose to even sometimes just let those moments pass us by, and like as if it was nothing, as if God wasn't trying to teach us anything. And it takes intentionality. I think that's where
Hmm.
some anxiety comes in life, where it's a healthy anxiety, where you are concerned about learning and growing and developing, and so you do pay attention to the moments that come your way. And sometimes they're tough, sometimes there's waves, and sometimes there's storms, and there's wind blowing your direction. I honestly feel like a lot of times those aren't negative. They're the winds are blowing you in the direction you need to go. And oftentimes for me personally, that's pointing me to my Savior Jesus Christ, where I find strength to then take that next step, or elevate my game. And I find strength there. I find peace even in the moment where peace shouldn't be felt, or from a worldly perspective, like it doesn't make sense to have peace. And so there's a peace that passeth our understanding,
Yeah.
where it doesn't quite make sense, but there's peace because of the founder of peace. And so
Yeah.
in this turmoil, in this storm, it's like, you look to him. It's like Peter walking on water, and there's waves and there's wind and there's all these things that are distracting him. He starts to fall. He cries out to Jesus. And that's in my life, just having that ability to, and I'm not perfect in this. I just have been very conscious and intentional about, in those moments, try to look to him, try to see what's going on, try to gain the perspective, the eyes to see what I'm supposed to see, the heart to feel what I'm supposed to feel, and maybe the mind to think in a different way than I did in the past. And through that, you kind of unlock some hidden potential, or some potential you didn't know you had, to then move on to the next step, and to use that perspective now for your betterment, for your gain, and most importantly, for the betterment and gain of those around you, because that
Yeah.
perspective usually comes in a way that allows you to feel some empathy for another, and maybe what they're passing through, what they're experiencing, what they're struggling with in their mind, the decision they're trying to make, or their inability to see the incredible gift that's right in front of them that could open their eyes to so much more. And And I think that's what life is all about. There's an abundance of more good things in our life if we just try to pay attention.
It is wild how intentional you do have to be, because even with Mountain Tough in our ethos since the beginning of being one of the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough, I've been around mental toughness experts and mental toughness training since the beginning. And then even with the Mountain Tough podcast now, this show, every single guest we bring on is talking about mindset, mental fitness, overcoming adversity. But still, in my own personal life, if you're not intentional, it can still catch you off guard, and you can still go into kind of a funk or a rut
Mm,
or a negative snowball, even kind of knowing all of these tools. And
yeah.
that is really like interesting and eye-opening to me, that it's not something that you're going to master. It is a lifelong process.
I agree. And I think, practice makes progress. I don't think, like you said, it's not like you're not going to master it. It's not going to become perfect. But what I've found is that the more present, the more mental fortitude you experience, and then you have the eyes to see the perspective that was gained. Um, and as the next thing knocks you down, or you feel like you're not making it, you feel like you're failing, if you can find a way to go back to previous moments, kind of pull from that well of experience and perspective and say, okay, here's what happened last time. Here's what I
Hmm.
learned. Here's who I trusted in. Here's how I found peace. Here's how I found confidence to move forward. And then you utilize experience from the past, and then you move on to the next, and then it's going to knock you down again. It's just part of life. I think those learning experiences are it's part of the plan. And so, but I feel like the more and more we do that, the more the better we get at recognizing from past experience how, our history can inform and direct
Yeah.
our future and our current stage. It's not a hitching post. It's a guidepost that we kind of connect to, right? And
Yeah.
it guides us in that direction, looking back upon things that have transpired. And so the more and more we can practice that and understand, like, man, it's going to come again. There's going to be something that knocks us down or pushes us back, and or pushes us in a new direction that we need to pay attention to, that maybe a better direction at times as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I've learned that the harder life throws a punch at me now, the deeper I can dive in to my protocols, the better, which is really counterintuitive, because if you get knocked down with a financial crisis or a family crisis, you usually don't want at all to do the things that are going to help. And so you might you feel terrible, so you don't want to exercise. You feel terrible, so you don't want to eat healthy. You feel terrible, so you don't want to plug in spiritually. You kind of just, your human tendency in those situations is to kind of want to just lay around and feel sorry for yourself. And for sure, what I've seen over the last couple of years is when things get really, really, really hard, the more I can lean in to the things that do work, the better and the faster you're able to kind of come
mm,
out of those situations, even though it's the last thing you want to do.
yeah. So true, and maybe you've probably seen this as well. I think having community around you that you're connected, connection is so important, because we're all at different times going to fall into these funks, and we're going to experience these setbacks. If we were all alone, that'd be pretty difficult to come out of, or to feel any type of encouragement or strength. But for me, in those moments, I've just, I say all the time, I was not meant to succeed on my own, and I don't think any of us are. I
Hmm.
think it comes through connection, and that connection comes by way of an incredible Mountain Tough community, a Mountain Ops community. Those two communities combined, you know, our teams that surround us in the office that we're in.
Hmm.
For me, my family has been an incredible thing, and sometimes my wife's on her game and I'm off mine, and she encourages me. And then sometimes I'm on my game and she's off hers a little bit. And
Yep.
we're just there to support each other, and our kids are there to surround us with strength. And then ultimately a connection with God along the way is the most incredible support, where okay, I've got to turn to him, I've got to have his strength, but then also having people surrounding us that pull us out along the way, because it's going to be that kind of flux in life, you know.
Yep.
But I feel so bad for those that do not connect with community, with family, with God, with within their cultures in a workplace. And I think what I love about both you and I, and what we've been able to create with our team's support, is like we've got a culture within our businesses that it's all
Mm-hmm.
about lifting each other. It's all about finding ways to strengthen each other. And so, man, I'm just so grateful that through the trials I've faced, I've had so many connections and so much encouragement. I hear
Yep.
people say all the time, like, there's people that told me I would never make it, I would never be able to do this or that. I sit and think, really, like, who is out there telling people they're not, like, I guess that would make me feel like, okay, I'm gonna go. But I have never once, like, I've had people tell me I'm not sure about that idea, but I've never had anyone tell me, dude,
You can't do it.
you're stupid, you're gonna fail, you can't do it, this or that. I've always just around me had people like, this is awesome. I think of my wife when I did have some pretty stupid ideas, and I look back and I'm just like, uh what in the world was I thinking? And she was so awesome to just say, okay, like, if you think so, like, let's try it, let's go for it, you know. And then I'm like, she was, I can see her, I can picture her face in my mind now, like in some of those moments. And I'm pretty sure she was like, man, this doesn't sound like the smartest idea, but
She
I'm
supported
gonna
it.
encourage him, I'm gonna support him, I'm here for you, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just think connection through trials in life and through failure in life and all that we experience is so critical to helping us, move on, progress, and experience what life has to offer.
For sure. And every time I think about that, I always think about hunting also from the perspective of being out in the woods and spending time hunting my whole life. And then you especially see this concept in Africa. And you and I got the chance to go there together, but related to community and this topic, especially from a spiritual element, we know that like the enemy prowls around us like a lion and is looking for a way to devour and destroy at all times. And if
Mm-hmm.
you think about a pack of animals, like a group of impala in Africa, that impala that gets out by itself and is alone and is not plugged into that community and doesn't have that support network and wanders off alone, that is certainly the impala the lion is going to go after.
Yeah.
And that analogy always helps me so much because that is exactly what happens in our personal lives. And it's not always that a lion is going to jump on our back and kill us, but every time I get alone, that is when you start really killing yourself with your thoughts. And then you start feeling like no one else in the world could understand your problems or has similar problems. But the second you plug into a community, you realize like we're all going through a ton of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And just knowing that gives you so much confidence. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I love that analogy with the lion, and I know there's an adversarial, conflict out there, and a push against us, and sometimes that is just trying to get us alone, trying to occupy our mind, trying to occupy our time. I
Mm-hmm.
think of how much time is spent scrolling or looking into things, or our time and attention, which is so valuable in life, and we give it to so many different distractions. And I think sometimes the adversary is just trying to distract us from what matters most. And if he can get in and occupy our our lives and our times that way, I, I I had that experience as well here in Wyoming, actually, on a couple buffalo hunts where me and my daughters were hunting buffalo, and these buffalo, once we finally got to them, they all herded up,
Uh-huh.
and it was impossible to get a shot off on them. It was crazy, but our guide just said that we're just gonna sit here and we're going to wait. And one of them, hopefully the one we want, is going to wander off.
Wander.
The grass is all of a sudden going to become greener. There's going to be this loneliness this time where it's going to leave the proximity and the protection of the pack of the,
Yeah.
and there's power in proximity. There's power and protection in that, being together as a team. So I've shared this with my team at Mountain Ops, just watching the video of my daughter's hunt, because there's hundreds of bison in front of us, but there is no shot opportunity. And we
Crazy.
waited for about 45 minutes, just her, settled in. So she was comfortable, she's breathing good and everything. And all of a sudden, one of these bison decides, like, hey,
Wanders.
I'm going to go check this out, and walks away, and boom, they herded up really, really quickly again around that. And then my other daughter had a tag as well. And these bison, they didn't leave. They just herded back up. And so it was just a waiting game. And I think in our lives as well, there's just this waiting game. And sometimes we get distracted. It pulls us away from our pack, and the proximity and protection that comes with that is incredible. But yeah, sometimes we wander off, and then that lion attacks. And so yeah, there's so many distractions in life. I think, my own life and all the things that we could be doing, but should we be doing this in business? It's like
The
we
same.
have
Yeah.
sometimes shiny object syndrome, where it's like, put the Mountain Ops logo on everything. No, it's like we're getting too distracted. We need to focus in on what matters most, and that time and attention that's focused on things that matter most. That again is something we have to be intentional about, so that we
Mm-hmm.
occupy time, attention, mind in the right areas to stay on course. So
Yeah, we have to be thinking about that all the time because it's so easy to chase those shiny objects.
yeah,
Incredibly easy in all areas of
yeah.
life. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second and talk to you about nutrition and supplementation. There are a plethora of options when it comes to supplements that can be kind of overwhelming, so I wanted to let you guys know what I do take. So in the mornings, I am taking the Mountain Ops greens and the collagen right when I wake up, and that has been a game changer. I don't eat a lot of vegetables throughout the day, so adding those greens in the morning is quick and efficient, and I can really feel the collagen. In addition, I do enhance my workouts. My Mountain Tough training sessions are quite difficult, and so I do like to take the Enduro. It gives you a cardio enhancement that you can actually feel. And then I also like a little caffeine with my workout, so I'm taking the Mountain Ops Ignite. Lastly, it's really important that you are getting enough protein and recovering after these difficult sessions. What I do know is, even following a strict whole foods diet, I'm not getting nearly enough protein on most days unless I take a supplement. So I do take the Mountain Ops protein after my workout to make sure that I'm hitting about 1 gram per body weight for a functional athlete. So taking the Mountain Ops protein with some creatine after my workouts has been huge. Those are the products I am taking and that I recommend. The Mountain Ops team is giving Mountain Tough podcast show listeners an exclusive discount to their products. It is a great deal. So for a first-time purchase on mountainops.com, you do get 20% off. All you need to do is go to mountainops.com and then use the code MountainTough at checkout. That's MTNTOUGH, all caps, all one word. Apply that as your promo code at checkout, and you're going to get 20% off your first order. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. Trevor, let's talk more about the book. I'm grabbing mine right now, which my copy of the book is awesome because
that is really cool. And I appreciate your endorsement on it as well. We've the book actually was just shipped a couple days ago. It'll arrive to our warehouse and to Amazon next Tuesday. So I haven't seen a finished copy. I mean, I've seen the digital version of the design and everything, but haven't seen an actual physical copy. I'll see it next week for the first time. I'm excited.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I have the paper copy because I got the email from you for the pre-read, which is awesome. And all the guys at the office were giving me crap because I printed it all out on computer paper,
A
which
whole ream.
which has been really awesome because I had it on my nightstand and I'd read it on my nightstand, and then I had my oldest daughter Ava read it too. She's
Oh,
11,
that's awesome.
which which has been really cool. But the Conquer Code, a challenge to awaken the divine, is that still the official title?
It's the Conquer Code, unlocking success through failure, faith, and family. But
Nice.
my personal and so to go along with the code, we're unlocking something as we dive into this book. And so I felt like awakening the divine didn't necessarily correlate with the title, but there is a statement in there where one of my personal missions and one of my whys in life is to awaken the divine within individuals that I'm blessed to come in contact with. And
Yep.
what that means for me, especially with my kids, is to help them understand and recognize and see the gifts that God's given them that are divine, and we all have them. And so I want to awaken Him within those that I'm blessed to come in contact with. So I'm hoping that's what people get in many ways from the pages of this book.
That's
So
amazing. And when did you when did you know that you were going to write a book?
um, it about 7 years ago,
Okay.
and I slowly started, and the title was first Divine Delays, and then it went to it just did a thumbs up on my screen when I did that.
Zoom will do that
Divi-
sometime.
that's pretty cool. That kind of shocked me, but Divine Delays, and then then it went from that to How I Conquer, because on most of my social posts and everything, I end it with "This is how I conquer."
Hmm.
Um, and then I was talking to a good friend, a mutual friend of ours, Ryan Mickler,
Yep.
and he was kind of holding me accountable to some word counts every week. 2,000 words this week, 1,000 words next week, and this and that. And so I'd shoot him a text every Friday and let him know how I was doing on the writing. And one day we were chatting. He's like, "There's kind of a format here and like this infrastructure to help people conquer in life. Like it's kind of like like a conquer code." And I was
Mm,
like, "Oh man, I
that's
I
cool.
love that, the conquer code, because there's part of it is a challenge for people in different phases of life, in different areas, spiritually, physically, mentally, and socially, to help them conquer, and a format for them to follow to help them in that process. But yeah, it was a period of time, and at Mountain Ops, we have that challenge for the last about 7 years. We've done every month. You have an accountability partner, and you create goals for physical, spiritual, mental, and social goals, and then right in the middle, our core value for the month at Mountain Ops. And so there's 5 goals you create, and then you're accountable to your partner. You're accountable to yourself. Um, my mental goal for a very long time was to write in my journal 400 words this week, 500 words this week. And so
Yep.
my accountability partners always knew, like, okay, he's a big journal writer, that's what he's doing. But I wasn't sharing with anyone that what I was actually doing was writing this book, the
Working on the
Conquer Code.
book.
So
Yeah.
I utilized our Conquer More challenge to actually facilitate my ability to finish and write this book. And it's my family's entrepreneurial journey, but it starts, with the foundation of my childhood and
Hmm.
incredible lessons I learned from my parents, and then has kind of gone through our journey over the last 21 years. My wife and I, as we've, faced different challenges and struggles, and financially, and what we've learned from each other, and being parents, and how in each of those realms we've been able to connect with God, to conquer more.
That's incredible. I think it's really helpful for people to know too that this has been a 7 year journey. It's not something
Yeah.
that you just spun up in 3 months. I mean, it's been a 7 year sharpening and forging process to finally,
Yeah.
get this out, which
And I'm not a writer, so like this is fortunately it took me about 5 years to, like, okay, I've got something. In fact, I was sitting on a plane for spring break 2 years ago with my two oldest daughters sitting next to me, and then my wife and my other two kids were off to the side over by the window, but everyone was asleep, and I was typing, and I got to the end, and so I put in really bold letters "the end." And I am a bit of a crybaby. My eyes started to
oh
water, because this is like
man.
5 years, like what? And I woke my two daughters up and I pointed to the screen, and there was this big, the end,
That is
and
cool.
it's only the beginning, honestly, but the end of that writing. And then I actually hired an editor, and for an entire year I worked with these two editors that helped me with my spelling errors, with my grammar errors, which they were plenty, and then helped me take the stories, because I'm a bit of a storyteller. I have a lot of stories, these perspective moments that we started this conversation with. That's I feel like that's one of the gifts God's given me, is to see these moments in life as these moments where God is instructing me. God is he's got a wise purpose for them. And so I share these stories in the book, but these editors help me to weave all those together in a format that was more easily followed and read. And then over the next year, this last year, I wasn't quite sure. I was a little apprehensive. Like, how do I launch a book? Do I want to go get a publisher? Do I self-publish? Do I even want this out there to the world? Do I
Yeah.
want this to be a gift to my children and to my grandchildren and to my wife, who I've dedicated this to?
Yep.
And I was okay with that, because it's like it's everything documented for us over the last 21 years, and then my childhood as well. So my 42 years of life. Not everything, obviously. They actually made me cut back from about 98,000 words to about 72,000. So there's some stories I had to pull out, but I just wasn't sure if I wanted to put it out to the world. And I'm grateful for a board here at Mountain Ops that we've got on board. I let them know that this is what I've done. It shares the core values of Mountain Ops. It points everyone to kind of the story and our Operation Conquer Hunger and what we're doing with that. In fact, every book sold, there will be proceeds that go to Operation Conquer Hunger. And that was
That's
part of my
awesome.
personal way of contributing to our Operation Conquer Hunger as well. And they got excited, and a few of them read it, and they were like, hey, there's not enough good content out in the world. And I'm not pretending to have like the secret or the or something. I don't want to come across as like, oh, I'm an author that has everything you need. But there is something in there that I feel like is what everyone needs.
Yeah.
And it's my conquer code, and that's Jesus Christ. In
Hmm.
the end, it's him. We can talk about anything we want. In the end, for me in my life, it all comes back to him. And people believe in different ways. In the beginning of my book, it states that, like, I know that people have different beliefs, different faiths, different understandings, and I revere, honor, respect all of those. And I love it. And I love to celebrate the diversity of life and people coming together in common ground and commonality. And I just I open up pretty boldly as to where my feelings are around
Hmm.
that. And so I'm not shying away from anything. It's just this is what's blessed my life. And if it can be a blessing to someone else, then that's the goal. But ultimately, honestly, for my children, my future grandchildren, if this is something that they have as a keepsake, that this is how our dad conquered, and it was
Hmm.
with God, and it was with us, and it was with his team, and then I want that legacy to be portrayed. So
Oh man, I'm so glad you got it out there, because it would have been powerful as a family piece for sure, but certainly connected to that original tagline you had, which is your original kind of is connected to your life's mission and in your personal mission of awakening the divine. I mean, the amount of people that will have the opportunity to read this, and the amount of people that you'll awaken the divine in because of this book, certainly will happen. So I'm glad you didn't just keep it
yeah, I
as a
appreciate
family
that.
piece. I'm glad.
Oh, that means a lot. I was in Austin, Texas 2 weeks ago to record the audio version of the book, and even down there, you just talked about that lion, that adversary, and I was feeling it strongly, like feeling kind of the imposter syndrome. What am I doing? What am
Yeah.
I thinking? Like, sharing this, how will I bless anyone? And even the second day of recording, the first day we did 5 hours, second day we did 8 hours, and I woke up that morning just feeling like I don't know if I want to do this. This is I'm not sure if I actually have what I would like to share, if I'm sharing it the right way.
That's
I
that
do
lion.
get emotional,
Yeah.
and so I've never really listened to an audiobook where the author is crying most of the time. And when you listen to mine, you're gonna hear some tears and some sobs and some breaks with some dead air. And I just told them, like, we're just gonna go with this, because I don't know how to do it any other way. These stories are just so real, and they're hitting home as I'm reading them. And I actually got some advice from my daughter that second day in between recording sessions. I took lunch, and then my family got on a phone call with our daughter that's in Brazil serving a mission right now. And she talked about the adversary. She talked about feeling an anxious excitement that is a good thing. And then after we do that good thing that we were anxious about, there's a calm. And that calm is a peace from the Spirit. So she was teaching us all these things, and I was like, this is exactly what I need, because I'm feeling this anxiousness right now, but I don't know if I knew it was the adversary, but I'm excited about what I'm to share.
Yeah.
And maybe the adversary is trying to keep me from sharing what I share. And then the last 2 hours of that recording, I sat down. It was the smoothest recording portion of what we had recorded. I was like, oh man, I wish I was reading better in the beginning, because it was just kind of a little bit what I felt like a jumbled mess at first. And then it just started to flow. And I ended with my witness that Jesus Christ is my Savior, and He's my Redeemer, and He is my conquer code. And as I'm sharing that, that was what the adversary did not want me to share.
For sure.
He did not want me to mention His name, to speak that name of Jesus Christ, you know, and to share my witness. So of course that adversarial effect's going to try to keep you and try to distract you and try to belittle you, to keep you from awakening the divine, sharing the divine, witnessing, testifying of the divine. And so I'm so glad in life when we try to push that adversary aside, and we recognize, no, there's a great purpose for what we're doing. And if it affects one person, then that's great. It's affected me just in the process of looking back, reflecting, and seeing God's hand in my life, which is an amazing blessing to kind of see and to witness. As you put these stories down onto paper, it was quite the process.
Man, that's so helpful for listeners to know. And we talk about it all the time, but it's a spiritual battleground, a spiritual war, and good versus evil, and knowing that is helpful. And then I think the enemy is not going to attack anything that isn't fighting the good fight or trying to spread the message. I think a lot of times the enemy is going to leave that person alone because he kind of has them exactly where he wants them. But when you really start trying to transform lives and help people, then you're under constant attack. And that constant attack is brutal and it is rough, but at least there is some confidence in knowing that you're kind of in the right place. Like if you're not under attack, you're probably not awakening the divine.
That's true.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a proverb in an old African proverb. They say, if you see people throwing rocks at a tree, it must bear good fruit. And they're trying to knock the fruit down, And so it's so true. There's going to be the enemy attacking where he feels like he needs to distract. And I just hope to be an annoyer and a disturber of his attacks. I want to disturb and annoy his work. So
you don't want to be complacent. I've used a ton of Bluetooth speakers over the years, and they all have never quite had enough output for me to really have an awesome home gym workout on a Bluetooth speaker. But the Turtle Box is in a whole new ball game. They have leveled up this product, so the bass and the output you get out of a Turtle Box is quite amazing. It's funny how we started using them at the lab. We had an awesome sound system at our new lab here in Bozeman. We were using it so much, we actually blew our brand new system out. We went right to the Turtle Boxes. And so we paired two together in the lab, and that was a lot of output for the Mountain Tough team and all of our testing to have phenomenal sound in our gym for a great workout with great music. We know there's a ton of Mountain Toughers training in their basements, in their garages, and I know a lot of you are looking for great sound to play some music in the background to your MGDs. This is a great product for you to check out. Turtle Box is at a whole new level. The bass and the volume you can get out of that box It's a sweet product. You guys can check them out at turtleboxaudio.com. Use promo code TOUGH for a free Turtlebox hat with the purchase of a Gen 2 speaker. The hat must be added to your cart before entering the promo code TOUGH, TOUGH. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. Well, I do want listeners to read the book for sure, but I did want to spend some time with you going through the phases just so that we could get some high-level information on the phases. I know you broke the book out into phases, and I know that phase 1 starts with building the foundation, and I absolutely loved reading about the stuff your parents did. I mean, the stuff that your parents did to set you up for success was so inspiring for me. Just like the time you guys spent together as a family was amazing. But what are you talking about when you in this first phase of build the foundation?
Yeah. And the 7 phases that I take people through, it was during part of my writing, I was going through a process of training for my first trail marathon down in Moab. And so I hired a coach, and that coach took me through some phases of training. And so I tried to liken these phases to life, building the foundation and getting time on your feet and getting used to the new elements and acclimating yourself to your surroundings. And I think that's kind of how life begins. We have to get some time under our belt and some time on our feet, and having great parents that we'll use this word again, just that are intentional, makes all the difference. And so I'm hoping through this that I'm looking at the parents that I had, and what am I taking from them that's helpful for the parent that I'm trying to be as well. And I've got an incredible wife that she knows how to build foundation with our children as well. So I'm fortunate that way to have had parents, and then to have a partner in crime now that they're intentional about how they build. But I'm hoping to, through the book and through the phases, there's a quote that I've shared. I might have even shared it on the last podcast that I had with you, was you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. And so as people go through this book, they might be like in the phase of parenting, or they might be in the phase of building for something, or they might be in the phase of struggling, and they're trying to overcome the mountain. So right now in this phase, I'm trying to give people a little bit of a look into the foundation that my parents helped to build within my, me and my 6 siblings. There's 7 of us, and how intentional they were in that process of just putting some routines in place for our family that created a solid foundation for us to build our lives upon. And I think that's important with anything we do in life, whether it's building a family, whether it's building a business, whether it's starting a new fitness routine. You start with the foundation, and you make sure that you have those pieces in place that will help you build onto the next. Because if you don't have the foundation, when the winds come and you're trying to conquer things in life, it's hard to stay firm and to move forward if that foundation is weak. And so, there's some stories in there that I share about how my parents built, and how that's helped along the way in our life.
Yeah, and athletes for sure should understand that theory, because all athletes kind of go through that process, especially, marathon runners, where at first, like, running 3 miles seems impossible. And then all of a sudden running 6 seems kind of impossible. Then all of a sudden running 15 seems impossible. And then as a runner, you, over time, through some consistent hard work, have a foundation to where, like, 6 and 3 miles feels and kind of looks like nothing, especially when you're consistently maintaining that foundation. So I think athletes will really love kind of the tie-in there.
Yeah. I think you're spot on. Like, consistency and then adding intensity over time. Those are like, and that is with physical fitness, that's with spirituality, that's with, becoming most of what we do in life is more of a marathon than it is a sprint, right? And so consistency, intensity, letting time do the hard work is so key. We can get burnout easy if we try to hit the highest level right off the bat, but building from the foundation is crucial.
Yeah. I think the consistency is big too in the parenting one. In, being a father, it's easy for me to think of these crazy big objectives I want to make sure my kids go through or know about, but I can certainly fail by switching those all the time. So then, that
Yeah.
consistency falls apart. But the ones that I've seen make the most impact on their lives are usually kind of these small things we do as a family, but we just do them all the time.
Yeah. And that was my parents, just the routine. And I'm seeing that as a parent as well now as we've gotten into routines. My parents always did, there was a daily, family prayer, daily family scripture study. Every Monday night was a family night in our home. And so that was like, hey, we've dedicated a few hours every Monday night. You might be busy throughout the rest of the week, but we're all going to be here and we're going to spend that time together. And there was usually some wholesome recreational activity involved in that. And that was fun. Um, it wasn't that we were all like super intent on and they're present and
Yeah.
participating in the, and with my children now, like we have a routine in the morning. Every morning we get up, we meet together at 7:30 for scripture study, for prayer, and we're pretty religious about it. It's a routine, but that doesn't mean that every kid's coming up and they're ready with their scriptures. No, it's like some of them are flopped on the couch trying to stay awake. Some are like, do we need to do this again? Like, but it's just consistency over time. When my daughter left a month ago to Brazil, the night before she left, she said that it's those little moments that we've done so consistently have made all the difference.
Mm.
And so the sacrifice that you guys have put into making sure we've done them. But as a parent, you can get frustrated at times knowing, am I getting in? Am I getting through? Is any of this making sense?
I know.
Is this worth the effort? And it is, like, just showing up, being there, being intentional, whether you feel like it's happening or not. There's something going on within our children, and they're incredible. My children are awesome, and so along the way, just showing them what's important, it starts to become important to them as well.
Yeah, parenting reminds me of entrepreneurship, where we joke around the office all the time. And Bert Soren talked about this at Tough Fest last year. But you'll hear people, they'll see Mountain Ops or they'll see Mountain Tough, or any company that you normally see can look like an overnight success. And so we
Mm.
joke all the time that, yeah, we're just a 10-year overnight success. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
it's been 10 years of baby steps. And that's helpful for me now in parenting, because you kind of push and push and push with structure for your kids, or principles with your kids, and you're not really sure that they're working, and you are kind of frustrated. But then all of a sudden, 10 years later, you realize, like, wow, that made a huge difference. And
Yeah.
you just can't see it when you're in it every day.
Yeah. That's so true. Yep. No, you're spot on.
Let's go
Yeah,
to
you look back and yeah, go ahead.
let's go to phase two, and let's tell the listeners phase two, I know, is about building strength, but what were you digging into there?
Yeah, I mean, with that, it's kind of goes along with the consistency and then adding some intensity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And phase two and phase three kind of flow together pretty quickly. But people know that I'm a faith-based individual. Our company is faith-based, with our number one core value is recognizing God. I kind of let them into, my life, as far as it goes into a 2-year mission that I did for my church at the age of 18, and which built some strength and endurance in my life. I was in young phases of life. I've come out of an incredible foundational experience for the first 18 years with my parents and my family, my siblings, and now I was out in the world on my own, and it definitely helped to build some strength and endurance for me for life, because it was some difficult times. I got dropped in Mexico, didn't understand the language, and didn't understand the culture, the people. I couldn't call home. I could write letters. I could call home for Mother's Day and Christmas. That was it for 2 years, and I was just there to serve people. And so I had to look at this as like, hey, 2 years is not going to happen overnight. When you look back on it, it did feel like it happened overnight, and now so many years have passed. But when you're in that phase of life and you're young and you're putting some worldly things aside, I put aside work and school and chasing, girlfriends and stuff like that, and to just focus on building strength and endurance in my life. And that came by way of a spiritual mission experience. And it
Yeah.
was physical and it was mental and it was social. It was all of these things because I was now learning a new culture, learning a new language. And without the one purpose of being there because of my love of Jesus Christ, I honestly I would have turned back around the first week because it was so difficult, so lonely. My
Yeah.
daughter's going through the same process right now of acclimating
Yeah.
to a new situation, new scenario, new language, just a foreign experience. And so people have been curious, and I've had people ask, like, I'm not of your faith, but I understand the young people of your faith. There's 70,000 of them out there right now doing this. Like, what does it do for their lives? Give me
Crazy.
a little glimpse into it. So that's what I've done in the book.
Yeah.
I've given people a little glimpse into how this happens, why it happens, and the strength and endurance that it builds after an incredible foundational build. Honestly, this is stacking onto the foundation, but it's helping me prepare for further things in my life when I come back after the 2 years. And then life really comes at us quick, and I start building for speed in phase three,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what this phase of the book goes into, and tying it to my marathon training, just, increasing over time. I built a good foundation where I could spend time on my feet.
Yeah.
I could go out on a Friday and run for 2 hours, and then on a Saturday run for three. That's what my trainer kind of got me to. But then I was watching my clock. How over time
I
am
getting
I cutting
faster.
back on my time? Am I going further at a shorter timeline? And that's what we watched for. And I had to build some endurance along the way, which was super critical for
Hmm.
what I was trying to accomplish physically, but also in life. It's an endurance race. It's not a sprint.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the mission chapter because there's so much value into just getting out and doing things that are scary and intimidating, big things like that. And you know what? In Mountain Tough, we talk about it that like people should be signing up for these trips that scare them and signing up for
Mm,
these expeditions that are just a little bit harder than they think they're capable of,
mm,
because pushing those boundaries and stretching those limits is really what creates these cumulative life experiences that give us the character of who we are. And you know, your missions did that for you, and people can do that in other ways. I think
mhm.
people can find other ways to replicate that same thing in their lives, and they can continue to do that through their life as well.
Yeah. I agree. I've got a 17-year-old daughter that this summer she's going to go over and spend a month in the Philippines, and she's never left home without us before necessarily. And she's going to go help build some schools and some homes and stuff. And she's going with a group of people she doesn't know, and that's intimidating. But at the same time, I know what she's going to experience, and getting out of the comfort zone, doing something hard. It's the same thing with anxiety in life. There were times when my anxieties kept me from things that I wish I really would have experienced. But when I've learned that those anxieties, and sometimes it's just if there's fear,
Yeah.
when I've learned that that feeling is fear, it's not like don't do this because something bad's going to happen. It's fear. It's keeping me from living. And when I put that fear aside, I've stepped into the darkness and faith. Like I start to live. I start to live in
Hmm.
an incredible way. And my mission helped me in a big way to understand that concept, but also to understand that I am a mission driven individual. And if I have a purpose that's it almost never has anything to do with me, it has something to do with the good of others. It's kind of selfish though, because you end up feeling good. You end up experiencing blessings and strength and progress. And that's the mission did that for me for sure.
Yeah.
In helping me understand, like, I'm a mission driven individual. Mountain Ops is a mission driven organization. My family, we have our own like little missions that we've set out to accomplish, and it's fun to have something you're driving towards, and
Yeah.
then to surround yourself with people that are doing the same, and you're all heading in the same direction with a common cause
Man.
that's far beyond yourself and not about yourself.
Yeah, I think it's more than fun. I think it's everything because I think without that, it's easy to fall into, you know, depression, complacency, passivity.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of life is so critical to us living kind of like a fruitful, abundant life. We have to have a
Yeah.
mission that we're latched onto.
Yeah. Agreed.
So then you have phase 3 of built for speed and phase 4 built to conquer.
Yeah. Yeah, built for speed and then built to conquer the mountains. And built for speed, it's like it's a time of life where life was coming at me and my wife fast. Same thing as for you. And you get married, you start a family. All of a sudden, your roles and responsibilities change drastically. And my wife and I, she was 18 and I was 21 when we started that process together. We got married right after my mission, and we started building a family. And yeah, life comes at you fast, so you've got to be ready to be built for that speed and that progress in life that can sometimes come our way in a rapid way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it was incredible. My roles and responsibilities now were to provide, preside, protect. And I loved it. And I was doing a decent job in many regards for a period of time. And then phase 4 happens and we face some mountains. But that speed, that build for speed, I think this is a moment when you're going to fall in love with my wife. You're going to see, how incredible she is and the things that we decided to do together as we built our foundation as our new family unit. And as life was coming at us fast, what would we do in life to put God first? And what I loved about her most of all for, the last 21 years is that she puts God first.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I can trust her in so many ways, and I can lean on her strength in so many ways. And she's supported me in so many ways because she's turning to that source of strength. And so when we moved into phase 4 and we were now facing mountains, we felt like we were built to face them. We were built to conquer them. But then through that process, you scale and you conquer one mountain, you find out there's another one. And so along the way, you're strengthened for the next mountain as well. And this phase 4 was the financial, the failure, the difficulties in our life that we experienced that caused us some hunger, that, had our house up for auction, that had our, medical bills stacking up. And that's what the reader's going to read in this process where I can't just talk about conquering the mountain without sharing what the mountain looked like and how we suffered through that and where our mind was. And I definitely now felt like a failure and didn't feel like I was providing, presiding, protecting in this home and family that we had created. And so it was a difficult moment in our life that, we call it our 7 years of famine, and 7 years doesn't feel like a long time when you're looking back on it, but when you're in the midst of it, it feels like an ultra marathon. It feels like forever.
Mountain Tough is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Mountain Tough ethos is backed by, we've always wanted to be the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough. So inside the Mountain Tough app, you're not only going to find all of our physical training programs, but you're going to find additional training as well so that you can stay sharp physically, mentally, spiritually, and nutritionally. The Mountain Tough app also allows you to train no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. Additionally, the Mountain Tough app is going to have programs from beginners all the way up to elite athletes. And all of our programming is structured in a way that you can start with no gear at body weight, and you can go all the way up to programming that is full gear. So you can do that in a robust home gym or your local gym. There's no excuse for you not to start today. With Mountain Tough, you can conquer your goals with the ideal program for your lifestyle and schedule. Train with equipment or just your body weight on your phone, tablet, TV, or web browser. Most importantly, Mountain Tough will help you train your mindset so you are always ready for anything life throws your way. Mountain Tough is offering the Mountain Tough podcast listeners an incredible offer. 6 weeks free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do is use the code MTNPOD to redeem your 6 weeks of training. That'll be a 14-day free trial plus a whole additional 4 weeks of training. Just go to mountaintough.com and enter code MTNPOD for your 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app. listening to the Mountain Tough podcast. Yeah, I remember reading both of those chapters, and you and I have talked a lot, and even on the last podcast we did, we dove into the crisis you guys went through. But on the marriage topic and meeting your wife, I remember thinking about that and just I think how lucky both you and I are on that front. And
Mm.
it's easy, I think it's easy to go through chunks of life and take a phenomenal wife for granted at times. And in reading your book, when you stop and think back of life in hindsight and realize that having an amazing wife that is incredibly supportive and connected daily to God, the amount of stability that gives to your household and to your career life and everything else in life is astronomical. But when you're in it every day, you kind of can feel like that's just normal, and maybe everyone has that. But I think that definitely opened up my eyes to like, wow, that like having an amazing supportive spouse is not what everyone has in life. And the impacts of that are insane.
Yeah, it's so true. And it does, looking back, you learn so much about it. And I felt so much strength from her. But looking back, I realized like she's been the key to our success. She's been the key to like me feeling like I could pull myself out. I just owe her so much credit. She took care of our children and our household. And there was times I was too scared to even look in the bank account, and she did it, and she got in and paid the bills. And I mean, what was I thinking? Like, why was I putting the pressure on her? But she joined in that way. We were just at a men's event, a mastermind for a men's group, and I invited her to come because I was asked to speak, and she was the only woman in the room, sitting in the back. And at the end, I just said, I've got to give credit where credit's due, and if we could just, round of applause for my wife. And the guy that runs the group actually had her come up, and all the men surrounded her.
Man.
And she doesn't want to be put on the spot. She doesn't want the limelight, nothing. But she deserves so much of the credit for what we've been able to accomplish, because she just stuck to it. She's got resilience like no other. And she's been through some things in her own life where it's like she's got grit, she's got perseverance, she knows what it takes to conquer a mountain. And so me looking back, the one thing that I read from that is like, I want to be more like her for her. I want to be what she's done to me, and for me to encourage and to support. I hope that she knows I'm her biggest cheerleader. I hope she knows that I will support her in anything she wants to do. But in the middle of this men's group, they asked her to share a little bit, and she's like, oh no. And I knew like, oh man, this is not what she wanted.
Introvert.
And she shared the most incredible things about us coming together as a couple when we could have turned away, but not just coming together as a couple, but looking as a couple to God together, and how incredible that was for our marriage and for the unity that we found. And then there was a few men there was a lineup after, people that wanted to ask her questions, and how do I do this, or how do I do that? There was one at the very end, and he just came up. He's like, hey, outside of your faith, like in God, like what else can I do? And she just looked at him and she said, there is nothing else. Just look to him. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, what is she going to say? What else? And it was just so, as a matter of fact, it's so bold. It was so definite. There is one priority. There's not priorities. There's one priority. When we focus on, all other things start to work their way out. Maybe not in our timeline, maybe not as we expected, but they start to work their way out. And her response was just, yes, that's so incredible, so powerful. There isn't another way.
Man.
It's him. So so proud of her, and just so incredibly grateful for the support that she's been along the way, because I don't know what I would have done without it. And still to this day, I don't know what I'd do without her.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I mean, and you said it, that like Mountain Ops wouldn't exist without your wife. And I feel the exact same way with Mountain Tough. Like we would have never made it without who my wife is. And like that family unit and that support network are so important.
I agree. Yeah, we're blessed men for sure.
For sure.
So
Well, I'm gonna breeze a little bit
yeah,
past.
you're good.
I'm gonna breeze a little bit past 4, just because we talked about that on the last time you were on the Mountain Tough show.
Yeah,
Everyone should listen to that, because the crisis that you went through is wild. I mean, foreclosure notices on your house, everything with your family trying to provide. But the story also led to Conquer Hunger
yeah,
down the road, serving people because you wanted to give back to a place that you needed in a time of crisis. The whole story is beautiful and amazing, even though it was extremely painful going through. But I want to,
yeah.
I'll breeze past that a little bit, just so we can talk a little
Okay.
bit about
Yep.
phase 5, 6, and 7.
Okay. That's great.
S-
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to just kind of jump into those?
Yeah, let's jump into 5.
So 5 is actually built to breathe. And so that's when we did have an opportunity to take a look at life's perspectives and what you just shared, like understanding that there was perspective moments, there was opportunity, and we had a little breathing room. Things started, after letting time do the hard work, being persistent, things started to pick up. And a lot of that came by way of connection. So you'll hear through that phase like how a team was started to be assembled at Mountain Ops and in another business that we started as well in 2010. And there was some breathing room, there was some relief, and we are so grateful for that. And then, Mountain Ops, you'll hear some of the story of Mountain Ops. You'll hear about the core values that we went through to really solidify, like the mission is to improve lives. What will point us there? The core values, living by them. It'll continually direct us in that path. So our decisions lead us to that. And as we started Mountain Ops, I had never hunted before. So that was a first for me. So phase 6 is built for the hunt. I feel like all of us are in some regard. I feel like as I started to learn what it was to be a hunter, I felt like it was in my blood. And so I honestly, in this phase, I just share some of the stories and lessons learned as a new hunter, as the pioneer of hunting in my family, which has been an incredible blessing to be a part of this community, learn what it is to be a hunter, a conservationist, to provide for my family. And that was one of the things that intrigued me most about hunting, was bringing food home. We had just gone through the 7 years of famine. So I talk about that in phase 6 of Built for the Hunt.
Yeah.
And how I've utilized the hunt to build greater relationships. My dad said it when we were on his hunt. He said, I love what hunting can do for relationships. And so I've taken my mom, my dad, my brother, a few of my brothers, my wife, and my children. They've all gotten in. And then now at Mountain Ops, I've set up what we call the Mountain Ops Hunt Draw, because I've got some FOMO, some fear of others missing out.
Yeah.
And so these hunt experiences that I'm having, I don't want them to just be for me. I want to, even like the Africa experience last year, that's a thing where it's like, I loved what I experienced. I need to get some of my friends and their family back there. So that's what I focused on, to create a culture where our team can draw now based off of their tenure, their involvement in the business. They can gain points, and they can go out and experience these connections, these relationships that matter most, while they're out undistracted from the world, and we can spend that time together in the mountains on the hunt. And so that's what that phase is all about.
Oh, it's so incredible.
Handful of stories.
Yeah.
And then you go into phase 7 to wrap things up, and it's Built to Conquer More. And it goes into the Conquer More challenge of spiritual, physical, mental, social quadrants of life. It walks you through the core values of Mountain Ops as the 5th kind of element of that Conquer More challenge, and how those core values have played a role in our building of this business, in our lives as individuals, how they can potentially help those that are listening if they want to implement some of those core values into their lives. And in the end, it ends with our number one core value of recognizing God. The beginning story in the book, with the author's note, talks about finding the Lord again and again. And my desire, my goal, is to have the reader find the Lord again and again and again on every page of this book, and to recognize how he's showing up in their lives on every page of their life, And then in the end, we recognize God with the story of my son and a soccer experience that we had with him, and a challenge to not forget God's son, to not push him to the side, but include him, and to recognize that he's been a part of this whole journey all along. And my
Yeah.
recognition that he is the conquer code.
Oh man, that's amazing. It's awesome. Does it feel weird having it done and out there now?
Yeah, yeah, it's not, and it's not quite out there yet. We'll launch this July 16th, the official launch. Middle of June, we'll do like a pre-sale launch. I've got some incredible friends and partners like you that have written some endorsements for me. I've got a forward by Cameron Haynes, um, and so the book will hit the warehouse in a few days, and then it'll be out there. And my goal and hope is that it does a few things. I've got some personal mission with my children and what I hope this book does for them in their lives, but
Yeah.
I hope it will point people to Mountain Ops and to see what's going on behind the curtain, the heart and soul that is all the individuals that are here working to improve the lives of individuals and families. I hope to help further the mission of Conquer Hunger through this book, and ultimately, in the end, my hope and goal is that if people can turn to Jesus Christ and to recognize the strength and the resource and the comfort and the peace and the confidence they can find in him to conquer more in life, that I hope they're pointed to him through these pages, through these words.
Man. In Conquer Hunger, how many meals are you up to now?
We're about to hit the 6 million meal point, and we're super excited about that. Over this last year, donating those meals in July as well. Our 10-year anniversary is in July, so that's why we're launching the book. Then we're celebrating 10 years. The week after we launch the book, we're actually doing a Guinness Book of World Record meal packing day at the Salt Palace where the Hunt Expo is held. We're doing it with New Skin, the Utah Jazz, Larry H. Miller Group, Coca-Cola, and
Man,
Mountain Ops. That we are one of the major the contributors to that and putting this day on, and we'll hit close to 1 million meals in that one day alone.
that is wild because you'll
Yeah,
get 1 million within this year, but then
yeah,
you'll go and do 1 million in one day.
yeah. It'll be crazy, and we're building towards it. Maybe that's we'll watch my stomach issues to see if they flare up, but I'm so excited. Like these are some times to be recorded, remembered, celebrated. I feel so blessed. And, I liken our experience with the Conquer Hunger to loaves and fishes. I shared that I think on the last podcast. And
Yep.
what I have found time and time again, as we've multiplied those loaves and those fishes, that it just keeps coming back 12 baskets full. It never ceases to amaze me how generous God is with us when we utilize what He's given us
Hmm.
in a good way. And so, just feel super blessed to be doing what we're doing.
Yeah, you are blessed, and you're blessing so many people. I'm so proud of you. It's amazing seeing everything you've done and your positivity and optimism and the way that you lead your team and encourage your team and have built your team. We'll partner together again this year on another Conquer Hunger event at Tough Fest,
Yeah,
and then seeing you get the get the book out and the amount of people that's going to help. And it was a 7-year journey.
yeah,
That is no breeze. And so we are proud of you. I am proud of you, Trevor.
uh,
It's amazing what you're accomplishing.
it's super kind of you. I honestly couldn't do it without partners and friends like you, and then the incredible team you have and that we have here. It's just I honestly feel like it's just a small piece of the puzzle, and I've got these incredible talented individuals and partners and friends around me that are so supportive and so encouraging, and I appreciate all you've done for me, and even this platform ability to share what we've shared today is a blessing for me, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Thanks for being here. Everyone can find the book publicly for sale July 16th. You can pre-order it before that, but on July 16th, they'll be able to find it, I assume, anywhere books are sold.
Yeah, anywhere books are sold. The majority we plan on selling through Amazon.
Okay.
There will be the audiobook. You can find it at MTNOPS.com, MTNOPS.com as well. Also, the conquercode.com will be live at that point as well. And so there's a few different places, but yeah, I'm told that most people buy them from Amazon, and the audiobooks are usually, highly sold. It'll be an interesting audiobook because I don't like hearing my voice, and then you got me crying on top of it throughout the stories. So we'll see how it all goes, but it'll be out there. So
Oh, I love it. That'll make it real and powerful. It'll be great.
thanks, man.
Well, thanks for being here, Trevor. Appreciate it. Love you, man.
Love you too, brother. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. What a powerful conversation with Trevor. If you listened to his last show, you know he has a heart of gold. If you haven't listened to that last Mountain Tough episode with Trevor, his first one, I highly encourage you to do that. In that episode, he does break down the crisis, the financial crisis that he and his family went through, how bad that got, and how that eventually led to the creation of Conquer Hunger. It is an insane story. We just kind of breezed past it today, but I highly encourage you to check that out. And then I highly encourage you to check out Trevor's book. As you can see, the principles in that are going to help you overcome adversity. They are going to help you conquer life. They're going to help you with your family, your spouse, your career. Even on the mountain, these principles are quite helpful. And Trevor has a unique writing style. You feel like you're right in the room with him having a conversation. I love his style. I love the stories in the book. It makes it very real and tangible. Conquer Code is live now on Amazon. So grab your copy. If you prefer Audible, check out MTNOPS.com for the audio version. Thanks for being here. We love you guys, and we are going to see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast. We'll see you next week.